So the Yorks have owned this team during the salary cap era. Parag has been a big fixture here. It's a lot different than when the DeBartolos owned the team. And the league is now changing. Salary cap's going up big time. And players are getting more and more guaranteed money. There is a weird old rule in the NFL called the funding rule. I think you've heard of this. But if you give a player a certain amount of guaranteed money, let's say it's $80 million, you'll pay some of that to the player in the first year. But whatever you don't pay in the first year, at the 365th day, you have to put the remainder, the team has to put the remainder in an escrow account. So you have to have liquidity. You have to have cash there's a lot of these funny money contracts with incentives and all this, but whatever the guarantee is, you have to put that in an escrow account. The Raiders had problems with that. Mark Davis in particular. We're like, why'd they get rid of Khalil Mack? Well, they may not have had the cash. I'm not saying the Niners don't have the cash, but Debo's going to be expensive. Then next year, Nick Bosa is going to be twice as expensive, $80 million probably guaranteed. And this trend is going to keep going. Eventually, if Trey Lance is great, he'll get – quarterbacks are getting fully guaranteed contracts. Deshaun Watson got $230 million fully guaranteed. So that – let's say eventually in the next 10 years, contracts become mostly fully guaranteed. What if in the next 10 years, the salary cap goes away? Because really, why is there a salary cap, Dad? It doesn't make any sense. They have so much revenue. This funding rule, the players wanted it 50 years ago because the owners weren't as rich. Now they're all billionaires. I think that the league could change. And if it does, I wonder how they'll react, because they're so good at, managing the cap, and they have so many investments. The York family is invested all over the place. They got a team in the English Premier League. Is all their cash tied up? Do they have the money? And finally, how much revenue are they making right now from the Niners? Have they had a WrestleMania there recently? Have they had a concert? Because how much money they make in the offseason? There's no games. There's no concessions. I'd love to know where the Yorks revenue is coming from right now and how much cash they have. Curious.
Interesting. Now, again, I think they're probably better off financially than Mark Davis.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. He's always got an issue.
Yes.
And the thing about the Yorks, they have a reputation about being chintzy.
Yes.
I don't know, honestly, if they are.
Right.
I don't know. But the reputation came from somewhere.
Yes.
And they may have changed. They may be quite generous now. But again, this is something that bears watching.
Yes. As the future goes, as we go on the future, it seems like the cap is going to become less and less of an issue, and contracts are going to be more and more guaranteed. How do the Yorks deal in that climate? Because they came into the league when it was a strict salary cap, and their advantage was being able to navigate it with Parag. What if that's not a factor anymore? Yeah. And what if it's all about, more like in the 80s and 90s, who has the most money? Who's willing to spend the most? That's what it was about back then.
And one thing you're saying, it's becoming more like baseball.
Absolutely. And it should be, Dad. Isn't it outrageous that the NFL has a salary cap?
Yeah.
How do you explain that? More parity? The Patriots were one of the most dominant dynasties ever. Was there really parity? I don't know about that. Anyway, so something to keep in mind. The league is changing. I wonder if the Yorks change with it.